Thank you for joining Wars of the Roses. And this is 7 from the Encyclopedia of Freemasonry by Albert G. Mackey. 7. In every system of antiquity there is a frequent reference to this number, showing that the veneration for it proceeded from some common cause. It is equally a sacred number in the Gentile as in the Christian religion. Dr. Oliver says that this can scarcely be ascribed to any event except it be the institution of the Sabbath. Godfrey Higgins thinks that the peculiar circumstance, perhaps accidental, of the number of the days of the week, coinciding exactly with the number of the planetary bodies, probably procured for it its character of sanctity. The Pythagoreans called it a perfect number because it was made up of 3 and 4, the triangle and the square, which are the 2 perfect figures. They called it also a virgin number, and without mother, comparing it to Minerva, who was a motherless virgin, because it cannot by multiplication produce any number within 10, as twice 2 does 4 and 3 times 3 does 9, nor can any 2 numbers by their multiplication produce it. It is singular to observe the important part occupied by the number 7 in all the ancient systems. There were, for instance, 7 ancient planets, 7 Pleiades and 7 Hyades, 7 altars burned continually before the god Mithras. The Arabians had 7 holy temples. The Hindus supposed the world to be enclosed within the compass of 7 peninsulas. The Goths had 7 deities, namely the sun, the moon, Tuisko, Woden, Thor, Frigga, and Seatur, from whose names are derived our days of the week. In the Persian mysteries were 7 spacious caverns, through which the aspirant had to pass. In the Gothic mysteries, the candidate met with 7 obstructions, which were called the Road of the 7 Stages, and finally sacrifices were always considered as most efficacious, when the victims were 7 in number. Much of the Jewish liturgy was governed by this number, and the etymology of the word shows its sacred import. For the radical meaning of the Hebrew word shabang is, says Parkhurst, sufficiency or fullness. The Hebrew idea, therefore, like the Pythagorean, is that of perfection. To both the 7 was a perfect number. Again, shaiba means to swear, because oaths were confirmed either by 7 witnesses or by 7 victims offered in sacrifice, as we read in the covenant of Abraham and Abimelech, Genesis 21:28. Hence, there is a frequent recurrence to this number in the scriptural history. The Sabbath was the 7th day. Noah received 7 days' notice of the commencement of the deluge and was commanded to select clean beasts and fowls by 7s. 7 persons accompanied him into the ark. The ark rested on Mount Ararat in the 7th month. The intervals between dispatching the dove were each time 7 days. The walls of Jericho were encompassed 7 days by 7 priests bearing 7 rams' horns. Solomon was 7 years building the temple, which was dedicated in the 7th month, and the festival lasted 7 days. The candlestick in the tabernacle consisted of 7 branches. And finally, the Tower of Babel was said to have been elevated 7 stories before the dispersion. 7 is a sacred number in Masonic symbolism. It has always been so. In the earliest instructions of the 18th century, it was said that a lodge required 7 to make it perfect. But the only explanation to be found in any of those ceremonies of the sacredness of the number is the 7 liberal arts and sciences, which, according to the old legend of the craft, were the foundation of Freemasonry. In modern ritualism, the symbolism of 7 has been transferred from the 1st to the 2nd degree, and there it is made to refer only to the 7 steps of the winding stairs. But the symbolic 7 is to be found diffused in 100 ways over the whole Masonic system. The sun was naturally the great central planet of the ancient 7, and is ever represented as the central light of the 7 in the branched candlestick. Of the days of the week, one was known as Sol's Day or Sunday, and as the sun was the son of Saturn, he was ushered in by his father Saturn or Saturday, whom he superseded. The Jews got their Sabbath from the Babylonians about 700 BC, Ancient Faiths, page 863. Also see Philo Judaeus, Josephus, and Clement of Alexandria, while Sol's Day dates from time immemorial and was always a sacred one. In a phallic sense, when the sun has been in conjunction with the moon, he only leaves lunar after impregnation, and as Forlong in his Rivers of Life expresses it, the young sun is that faint globe we so often see in the arms of the new moon, which is in gestation with the sun. The occult meaning of the word me perhaps is here revealed, as mentioned in 1 Kings 18:27, being defined, fire, water. Mi is the name of the sun, and as well signifies gold. It is designated in the musical scale and is also the name of fire in Burmese, Siamese and cognate tongues, as mentioned by Forlong in Treating of the Early Faiths of Western Asia, Volume 2, page 65. Sun symbolically in arms of new moon. Next to the sun in beauty and splendor, the moon leads all the hosts of heaven. And the Occidental as well as the Oriental nations were strongly moved in their imaginations by the awful majesty, the solemn silence, and the grandeur of that brilliant body progressing nightly through the starry vault. From the distant plains of India to ancient Egypt, and even those far-off lands where the Incas ruled, altars were erected to the worship of the moon. On every seventh day, the moon assumed a new phase, which gave rise to festivals, to Luna being correspondingly celebrated. The day so set apart was known as Moon Day, or the second day of the week, that following Sunday. The moon, whose phases marked and appointed their holy days. Cicero, Tusculan Disputations, Book 1, Chapter 28. In the Hebrew, Syrian, Persian, Phoenician, Chaldean, and Saxon, the word seven signifies full or complete, and every seventh day after the first quarter, the moon is complete in its change. In all countries, the moon is best known under the beautiful figure of the unveiling Queen of Heaven. Moon shown as the unveiling Queen of the Heavens. The relative values of 7 in the musical scale and in the ancient planetary formula are as follows. The eminent professor of music, Carl Bergstein, in connection herewith, furnishes the information that Guido Aretinus, monk, in the 11th century, the great reformer of music, invented the staff, several keys, and the names ut, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, they being taken from a prayer to St. John to protect the voice, running thus. The literal translation of which would be rendered, for that, or to enable with expanded breast, thy servants are able to sing the praise of thy deeds, forgive the polluted lips the sins uttered. The syllable uti has since been changed for the more satisfactory do. In the year 1562, there was printed at Leipzig a work entitled Heptalogium Virgiliae Salzburgensis, in honor of the number 7. It consists of 7 parts, each embracing 7 divisions. In 1624 appeared in London a curious work on the subject of numbers bearing the following title, The Secret of Numbers According to Theological, Arithmetical, Geometrical and Harmonical Computation, drawn for the better part out of those ancients, as well as Neoterikas. Pleasing to read, profitable to understand, opening themselves to the capacities of both learned and unlearned, being no other than a key to lead men to any doctrinal knowledge whatsoever. In the 9th chapter, the author has given many notable opinions from learned men to prove the excellency of the number 7. First, it neither begets nor is begotten, according to the saying of Philo. Some numbers indeed within the compass of 10 beget but are not begotten, and that is the unary. Others are begotten but beget not, as the octonary. Only the septenaries have a prerogative above them all. They neither beget nor are they begotten. This is its first divinity or perfection. Secondly, this is a harmonical number, and the well and fountain of that fair and lovely sigama, because it includeth within itself all manner of harmony. Thirdly, it is a theological number, consisting of perfection. Fourthly, because of its compositure, for it is compounded of the first 2 perfect numbers, equal and unequal, 3 and 4. For the number 2, consisting of repeated unity, which is no number, is not perfect. Now every one of these being excellent of themselves, as hath been demonstrated, how can this number be but far more excellent, consisting of them all, and participating as it were of all their excellent virtues? Hippocrates says that the septenary number, by its occult virtue, tends to the accomplishment of all things, is the dispenser of life and fountain of all its changes, and like Shakespeare, he divides the life of man into 7 ages. In 7 months a child may be born and live, and not before. Anciently, a child was not named before 7 days, not being accounted fully to have life before that periodical day. The teeth spring out in the 7th month and are renewed in the 7th year, when infancy is changed into childhood. At thrice 7 years, the faculties are developed, manhood commences, and we become legally competent to all civil acts. At 4 times 7, man is in full possession of his strength. At 5 times 7, he is fit for the business of the world. At 6 times 7, he becomes grave and wise, or never. At 7 times 7, he is in his apogee, and from that time he decays. At 8 times 7, he is in his first climacteric. At 9 times 7, or 63, he is in his grand climacteric, or years of danger. And 10 times 7, or 60 years and 10, has by the royal prophet been pronounced the natural period of human life. Shakespeare's 7 Ages aligns in the play of As You Like It, Act 2, Scene 7, as follows. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. At first the infant mewling and puking in the nurse's arms, and then the whining schoolboy with his satchel and shining morning face, creeping like snail unwillingly to school, and then the lover, sighing like furnace, with a woeful ballad made to his mistress's eyebrow. Then a soldier, full of strange oaths and bearded like the pard, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth, and then the justice in fair round belly with good capon lined, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances. And so he plays his part. The 6th age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon with spectacles on nose and pouch on side, his youthful hose well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank, and his big manly voice turning again toward childish treble pipes and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all that ends this strange eventful history is second childishness and mere oblivion. Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to share, like, subscribe and comment, and if you can please consider donating to Wars of the Roses. Links to PayPal and Patreon are in the description. Thank you so very much.